Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Anyway, he says, by the way, he says that they do those things to get attention. And look, you can't deny that bit, that they do get attention by doing that, because the very reason he was on the show tonight is because some lad was flinging powder all over the snooker table. And they've been on every TV show for the past week because of that. I still don't think it's right for them to do it. And I don't think it's right for him to walk into a garage and destroy the forecourts. You know, I wonder what his friends and family think of all of that. I don't think they would be too proud. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. Anyway, the Health Minister, Stephen Donnelly, has said it is totally and utterly unacceptable that abortion services are not being provided at all Irish maternity hospitals. Gosh, we're going way over time tonight. Speaking of the Dáil this morning, the Health Minister said that only 11 of the 19 maternity hospitals are currently providing abortion services, and that he wanted to see an increase. When asked about the status of the review into the Irish abortion laws, Donnelly said that he expected to bring in a report before the Cabinet very shortly. The legislation which provided for abortions following the 2018 referendum stipulated that a review be held 3 years after its implementation. Look, I could go on and read all that, okay? But basically, there are many problems. One of the problems is what they call conscientious objection. And conscientious objection means that if a doctor or a nurse in a hospital or a GP services or whatever is, say, a Catholic on a religious grounds, or indeed a Muslim or whatever it happens to be on religious grounds, or just morally they believe abortion is wrong, or maybe they voted no for it in the referendum, that they're perfectly within their rights to say, I'm not going to provide this service. And the suggestion by government was, and at the time of the referendum, that conscientious objection shouldn't be allowed. That if you're a doctor or you're a nurse and somebody comes in for a termination, that you should have no choice, but you must partake in that. And I'm not talking about when a woman's life is in danger. I'm talking about just a woman that comes in within the 12 weeks. I'm asking you, do you believe that conscientious objection should be banned? In other words, got rid of. In other words, that if you are in a health service and somebody comes for a termination, that you must provide it? Or do you believe people should be allowed to conscientiously object to giving abortions? Joanna, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Joanna?
I'm grand, Niall. How are you?
Good.
I don't think that's appropriate, actually.
What's not appropriate?
No, if you're a healthcare provider and the law's already been brought in, you know, you have to leave your moral ethics at home.
Do you?
Well, I think so. Look, I'm going to tell you, right? I'll tell you my story, and I'll tell you my cousin. Well,
no, don't talk about cousins or friends or family or whoever it is.
Say names. No,
well, it doesn't matter. Don't tell me their relationship to you either.
No.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, in my case, anyway, I was like, I went to my 20-week scan. And I was told that my son had no fingers and his leg wouldn't move. And that I was tested for Edwards syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
I've
heard of that.
I was tested for Down syndrome and all that. And they kept bringing me to this little room and all, telling me all the bad news. No wonder my high blood pressure was high. That's why they kept me in. I was like, well, what do you expect? Are you telling me all this stuff? Anyway, my son was born anyway, right? Okay, he has a condition called arthrogryposis. He's a wheelchair user, but he can walk with a frame. So he's, you know, in my eyes, he's fine.
Yeah.
But they were giving me certificates. I'm not going to name the hospital. They were giving me hospitals, you know, over in the UK, you know, where they wanted me basically, it'd be better in your instance, in your case, if you just aborted him. And then my cousin-in-law, I suppose you'd call her, she was told that her baby would basically be born, okay, once a child was born, that the child wouldn't, you know, be compatible with life.
Yeah, wouldn't survive outside the womb. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. And I was pregnant at the time with my baby. That's the time she was told that news. So I chose not to go to that little baby's funeral when it was born, and because I didn't want to see my little fat belly sticking out. You know what I mean?
I know, I understand. But
and-
I understand the point that you're making. But you,
she should have had the no, but now she should have had the right to know when she was given that diagnosis that your baby is not compatible with life. She should have had the right to say, well, why the hell do I need to carry on with this pregnancy and give birth to a dead
and you know
child?
what, Joanna, I'm not going to completely disagree with you. And I know during the referendum we had all these conversations about what they call the red herring stories, and I don't want to minimise anyone's story because, of course, fetal abnormalities are a shocking
Yeah.
news for a woman to be given during pregnancy. But here's the thing. Okay, absolutely. But here's the thing, right? We're not at that point, and the vast majority of terminations or abortions are not carried out because of fetal abnormalities or because of any of those reasons. The vast majority are carried out because people are just not ready to have a child, just don't want to have a child. So what I'm asking, but that's your view of it. But the point is if a woman goes to a doctor, no, well, hang on. Now the question I'm going to ask you, let me frame it slightly different. So a girl goes to a doctor or her GP or a hospital and says, "I'm pregnant. I'm 11 weeks pregnant. Under the law, I'm allowed to have an abortion in Ireland. I want you to terminate this pregnancy." And the doctor turns around and says, "Well, actually, no, I don't do that because I'm a Catholic, so you'll have to go somewhere else." So she has to go off. So you believe that's wrong?
That's wrong. Absolutely wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you're a doctor, your feelings should be impartial.
Okay, stay there for a second. We'll stay there for a second. Let me go to Kevin as well. Kevin, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm good now, and you?
Good. Kevin, should a doctor be allowed to conscientiously object?
No, yes,
no way, shape, or form. Not at all.
Hang on, John.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry. No. As you said, look, I do agree. Look, a girl can't pick and choose who you arrest if it's someone close to them. A priest can't not turn. Like a psychiatrist can't. You can't pick and choose. Like if a psychiatrist knows that someone's murdered somebody or a priest, they have an ethical duty to not divulge that.
That's not a good analogy. Right. We're talking about if you go to a psychiatrist and say, "I feel like murdering children," right? He has an obligation to go to the authorities and tell them that because that you've told him that you're thinking about a criminal act. So they have an obligation. That's not the same as a doctor turning around and saying, on ethical grounds or moral grounds or religious grounds, "I don't want to be involved in this," but you can go and do it somewhere else because you have an option to do it somewhere else.
Yeah, but hang on. No, I'm just saying. They shouldn't have the option to back out of it. It's either they're in the medical profession regardless of their beliefs or they're not. That's what I mean. Like a priest.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question, Kevin. What do you, is there something in particular you strongly object to?
Is there something I strongly object to?
Object to? I don't think.
Like beyond child abuse. And you know what I mean? Like the real hardcore stuff. No.
Okay, well, let me just. I know this might seem like a daft analogy. I want you to go on the radio tomorrow and promote child abuse. Would you do it?
Say that again.
I want you to go on the radio tomorrow and promote child abuse. Will you do it?
There's some weird.
Okay, but I just answer. Would you go on the air and promote it? No, of course you wouldn't.
No, of course not.
No, because you don't believe in it. So why should a doctor do something he doesn't believe in? Actually, before I go into the break, just let me go to John as well. John O'D. John, you've heard two callers now saying they believe people should be able to conscientiously object.
No, hang on. You asked me my opinion, and I'm telling you my opinion.
I know you did.
They shouldn't.
Okay, well, hang on.
But hang on. No, you can't just
you had just say get some nurse a chance, man,
and say, "Here, play Russian roulette and see if you get this guy, this doctor, professional medical who spent decades and God knows how long studying, and then decides that he has an emotional issue with carrying out."
Okay. Well, hang on, Kevin, because I need to take John for about 30 seconds before the break, and I'm going to come back to the two of you after the break. John, sorry, go ahead.
Look, this will not happen because just like the exclusion zones, if they were to be brought in, they would have been brought in by now. They're making some changes because I know for a fact, a 100% fact, there will be a High Court challenge taken on board. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to say by who, but I know for a fact it's coming down the tracks. I also know for a fact that the hospitals and the people in the hospitals have every right not to take part on abortions if they don't want to, if they're just if they're going against their religion or if it's just going against their moral code, whatever. They have every right, and they will be backed up 100% by the likes of myself and everyone in pro-life.
Okay, but the problem is, John, just very briefly before we get to the news, that the WHO partly funded, research into this, and they found that in Ireland, conscientious objection to abortion in Ireland is the main reason why most maternity hospitals are still not providing termination of pregnancy services.
Well, you also have the GPs around the country there, and they're not partaking. And of course, all the pro-death campaigners, they all say it's because the GPs in rural won't do it because they don't want protesters outside their doors. I know some of those GPs, and that's quite right. They don't want the protesters. I also know GPs that are using this as cover, right, because they're morally against abortion, but they're using the cover that if I provide it, the protesters will arrive. So you're getting it on both sides. But
okay, but I tell you what, John, do me a favour. I want Jane, just keep John on the line there, okay?
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
All right, let's get back to our conversation. And the point I was making there earlier on is that when we take Ireland, for example, the main reason that there is a lack of services in maternity hospitals for termination of pregnancy is because of what they call a conscientious objection. And conscientious objection, in case you didn't know, is somebody who objects to doing something on moral, ethical, or religious grounds. In other words, you're a doctor, you work in a hospital, a woman comes in, she wants to have an abortion or termination, and you say, or the nurses say, sorry, I'm a Catholic, I don't agree with abortion, I voted no in the referendum, I won't be involved in this, you can roster me off. And by law, currently at the moment, in Ireland, they cannot be forced to do it. And I'm asking you, should the law change? Because Stephen Donnelly believes we need to do something about the amount of or the lack of services in Ireland when it comes to termination of pregnancy. Now, getting back to John O'D, and by the way, just before I go to John, so sorry, some of the comments that are coming in line at the moment. On Twitter, Dermot Cox says, absolutely, they should have the right. Elaine Mullally says, of course they should. Another person, Kill Me Now, says, what is the opposite to conscientious objection? Is there a term that can be applied to forcing people to go against their conscience? God gave us free will, and those who tell us religion is used to control us would give us a totalitarian government free reign. Keith says, the egg doesn't know his arse from his elbow. How the hell is that thing still minister? Another person says, that you-know-what should resign, referring to Stephen Donnelly. Another person says, let me see, Ciara Fitzpatrick says, imagine a woman grieving for her stillborn baby or a woman crying over her miscarriage. Meanwhile, a baby is being pulled apart next door in a termination. Loads and loads of texts, loads of comments. Go onto our Facebook page, our Twitter page, or wherever you want to go, onto WhatsApp. I sent us a message at 087 188 0008. Now, Kev, stay with me. I know you're having problems hearing me, Kev, but I'm sorry. I do apologise for that. Yeah, but John, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. Sorry, John, getting back to what you were saying. John, there are people saying, that, look, we have termination. We voted for it in a referendum, fair and square. 67% of the voting population voted for it, whether you or I like it or not. That's the way it is. So if we have a service, we should be providing it.
Well, that would be like, I'm talking to you a long time this topic, long before the referendum and since the referendum, and you know how passionate I am and the group that I run with, right? That would be like coming along now to me and forcing me against now, I would take a bullet in the head for this thing. That would be like forcing me and saying, no way, you're going into jail now for the next 20 years. If you don't change your mind, then you must publicly denounce everyone in pro-life and you must support abortion. That's the same thing as forcing a nurse or a doctor to take part in an abortion.
Kevin, it's a fair point. Well, Kevin, it's a fair point. If you stand up for your principles and your principles tell you something is wrong, well, then why would you in the hell want to do it?
Right. First of all, I'm going to apologise in advance. I didn't understand a word that gentleman said. The volume was too muffled.
Okay. Well, Kevin, I tell you what. If you can't hear the other callers and you can't hear me because of your phone, I've no understanding of what's wrong. Well, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to respond.
No, that's fine. Look, my point is, it's going in to get an abortion is one of the biggest emotional decisions you can make. Never mind anything else, and it's not a lucky bag. You shouldn't be able to kind of go, oh, will I be able to get one in here or not? It's either they provide it, they're either in the profession to be able to provide such a service, or they're not. And if you've got an ethical issue, well then, sorry, it's not for you.
So what? They
Okay.
they should resign.
You can't. That means that a person is going to lose their liberty to earn money, then, and to
So I
actually live and
can't,
survive.
I can't.
Okay, I know you can't. You keep saying that. Okay, sorry.
I
Ken.
don't know what's wrong there, because I can hear you, Nigel, and I can hear him perfectly.
I know.
well.
I think I can hear him perfectly well. He can hear. You can hear me perfectly well, and you can hear him.
Yeah.
So I no idea. It must be his phone. Anyway, he needs to get positively in you. And Angela, let me just go to Angela. You're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Angela?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Angela, I'm torn on this. I really am, because I do feel an element.
not.
Well, I feel an element of sympathy for a doctor or a nurse who, like John, who disagrees with abortion, and somebody's going to force them to do something they inherently disagree with.
I am absolutely not torn on this one bit. It was my choice to do it. It should be their choice if they want to do it or not.
There's
Well, hang
nobody
on.
stopping
Is it-
you
is
from
it
having an
future?
abortion. There's nobody stopping you from having an abortion if you want to. Unfortunately,
that's
it's
what
legal
John-
now.
John,
No,
John,
but there's
I'm
nobody
agreeing
stopping you.
with you.
But I also
John.
have.
No,
I
she's
also-
John. She's agreeing with you.
Agreeing with you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought you were going the other way.
No, John, I can't believe that. Do you know what I mean? We're finally going to agree on something. We've had our heated discussions over this. But my whole
Yeah.
thing is, it is my choice to have an abortion. It should be their choice if they want to perform it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
let me give you the alternate argument, Angela. If every doctor and nurse decided ethically and morally they didn't want to do it, and quite a lot do decide that, well, then the service for women who are choosing, because they have the right to choose to do that, is limited. And at this moment in time, there's a concern about that service. That service is not available as much as they're saying it should be. That women might have to travel a little bit, to get that service.
2
Well,
months right
if you
now.
have to travel, Niall, if you have to travel a little bit to get that service in Ireland, you're still not having to travel to the UK.
No.
So in the UK, they have specialist clinics for it. They could set them up. It could be companies who set them up for this with doctors and nurses who truly want to help women do this.
So what?
Well,
Like
no, yeah.
so what are you suggesting? That we, at the moment, we don't have that in our legislation, but that we allow abortion clinics to set up?
But now,
Yes.
if that comes in, right? If that comes in, I guarantee you this: the minute they open their doors, they will be targeted from day one.
By
But they're
pro-life
targeted all over
campaigners,
the
yes.
world.
Oh yes,
They're
yeah, and
targeted all over the world, John.
yeah. But I'm
They're
saying here, like, if
targeted.
those murder clinics open here, like, they will be targeted straight away.
When you say
And I tell
when
you
you
something,
say murder
yeah.
clinics, they say they're providing a service. Obviously, you're pro-life.
People don't realise. People are not being pushed enough on this now, right? There is a plan B, which I'm not going to release here on live on the radio. If this kind of stuff comes in, the exclusion zones that people are put into jail, if the people that are objecting, doctors and nurses, are forced almost to take part, right? There is, if abortion clinics are open here, there is a plan B. And believe you me, if plan B is kicked off, you will be talking about it on every radio station
Okay.
and every TV station.
But here's the contrary argument again, and I say this to both of you. 67% of the population voted, the voting population in that referendum voted in favour of abortion up to 12 weeks. They knew what was coming. They didn't. For those people who pretended they didn't know, well, then they didn't do an awful lot of research because it was quite
But
clear.
as thick as a wall.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
must have been thick as a wall if they said.
Yeah,
they
but you
didn't know.
were guys on here now. Do you remember the fellow you had on here?
Oh yeah, he had no idea what he was even voting for,
Yeah.
but he voted yes anyway.
He only voted
Okay.
for the hard cases.
Yeah.
He didn't vote for abortion on demand, he said, until you had to point out to him that's exactly what he did.
John, just let him ask the question. Go on.
Okay, so if we continue down this road and we take, say, Italy, for example, almost 40 years after abortion was legalized in Italy, amid mass protests, the broader cultural movement in Italy, because, of course, there's a lot of Catholics in Italy, they're quite religious in Italy, 70% of doctors, gynecologists and nurses conscientiously object. So only 30% of providers will provide the service. Now, for women who voted yes for it, be it here or in Italy, that's not good enough, is it?
It's not good enough, but still, Niall, you cannot force someone to do something they don't want to do.
Well, okay.
And
Well, then let me give you an example. I work in a chemist. I'm a pharmacist, and I'm a Catholic. Should I provide contraception? Should I refuse if somebody walks in and says, "Can I have a packet of condoms?" Should I refuse to serve them?
Different now, Niall.
Well, if I am a practicing Catholic, I might disagree with contraception. Should I, for giving the woman a pill or the morning after pill, for that matter? Should I refuse to do it?
No. We're talking about nurses and doctors performing abortion.
If I'm a Muslim and I work in an off license, should I refuse to serve alcohol during Ramadan?
Giving someone the pill or a contraceptive or a condom is not performing an abortion.
No, I didn't say it was, but many practicing Catholics disagree with contraception. So
yes, no, I know that. I know that from when I used to have to go in to a hospital inside Limerick to have the coil put in. I was always told to say that it was a medical and not contraceptive, because if you say in the hospital it's contraceptive, they won't put it in.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's only up to a couple of years ago. If you go in to get the coil done, instead of having the pill, you have to say that it's for medical reasons. In other words, the menstrual flow.
Yes, to regulate your period. Yes.
Yeah, to regulate your period, and not that it's a contraceptive, because in certain hospitals they won't use that procedure for contraception.
Well, just both of you stay there for a second, because you're both singing from the same hymn sheet. Let me go to Siobhan as well. Siobhan, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
Hi, Niall. How are you?
I'm good, Siobhan. Nice to talk to you. Now, Siobhan, you believe people shouldn't be allowed to refuse.
No.
Why?
No, I don't. Because they know what they're getting into. Like when you're having an abortion, you're going to an abortion clinic.
Well, you're not in Ireland. You're going to a hospital.
Well, this is up to 12 weeks. You're going to an abortion clinic, aren't you?
No,
you're
not. There's no abortion clinics in Ireland.
The scans are... Well, you're going to the Irish Family Planning Association, aren't you?
Well, no, you go to a GP. I mean, you can go to your GP now in Ireland and say, I want a termination. If you're under 12 weeks, they can provide you with the tablets, which essentially terminate your pregnancy.
Now, I was under the impression that your GP couldn't dish out those tablets, so to speak.
No, they do.
I thought
what plan is she
but look, if he's a doctor, if he's a medical professional, that he's a professional, isn't he? And his personal opinion, it shouldn't really come into it. Where does it stop? If you go in and you've got cancer, lung cancer, you've been smoking for years, and he disagrees with smoking. I mean, is he not going to offer you any help then? Because your GP is really your gateway to
No.
Okay,
the answer to that is the doctor won't offer him euthanasia and say the best thing you could do now, because you're shagged from smoking, you're not going to give it up. So I recommend here's a letter now. Go up to the law, we'll say for Devil's Advocate, that you can get that done here now as well, like Colin. Here you are, there's your letter, off to the euthanasia clinic, and you're gone.
Well, no, I think the point. Well, hang on. The point Siobhan is making is that the doctor can't refuse to see you. He may disagree with smoking, but he can't refuse to treat you, even though treating you may not be beneficial if you're continuing to smoke. That's the point she's making.
No matter what happens with the smoker, he's not going to sentence the smoker to death. You're asking medics to take part in killing, murder.
And Siobhan, can I say something there as well? If you were looking at going for a lung transplant or a liver transplant, if you continue drinking or smoking, they won't give it to you.
True. And I do agree. I do agree with that to a certain extent. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're having an unwanted pregnancy, I don't think it's up to a doctor based on his personal opinion. I do understand it. I understand it must be difficult for medical professionals, but they are professionals. And say it again.
No, you don't.
I can't really hear that caller. He's a bit muffled.
Okay.
What's going on? Another one.
Okay, sorry.
What's he saying?
Sorry, Siobhan. Siobhan, I think the point that's being made is that if somebody on the grounds of religion absolutely disagrees with the idea of abortion, for example, John is a pro-life.
They're in the wrong profession, aren't they?
Well, hang on. No, not necessarily. I mean, they may have gone into a profession as being a doctor or a nurse in Ireland, 10 years ago. There was no abortion 10 years ago. They only brought it in 5 years ago or 4 years ago. So
I agree with that.
yeah, so they may went into that profession, not knowing. I mean, okay, let's be clear about it. If you go into the profession now, you probably know what's going to be happening. But if you went in 10 years ago, you went into a profession that didn't perform terminations, unless a woman's life was in danger, of course.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now you're being asked to do it.
You shouldn't be able to refuse it. No.
But look, I said before to you, park the religion, park the no. You can park that because there was people marched in the huge marches in Dublin with me. People were involved here with me in the city here on Cork, right? And they don't believe in God, gods, or any organised religion, but they are 100% morally against abortion.
And Siobhan, like, if I had a termination, right? Not if I had a termination, but I did have a termination coming up to 20 years ago. And it was my choice to have that termination. Why? Then it's a bit hypocritical if I turn around and say, well, that doctor or nurse who don't believe in it shouldn't have their choice too.
But it's their personal choice shouldn't really come into play in their professional job, At that point, they're acting as a doctor. They've taken some kind of oath to protect you, to help you. So that's what their job is. That's what they have to do, And
so they're protecting you.
That's what they're there for. They're there
but then in their conscience, they are also protecting, as John would say, the unborn child.
Stay there, both of you, a second. Just let me bring Dave in as well into this conversation. Well, hang on, Siobhan. Hang on for a second. Let me go to Dave. Dave, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Dave?
That's the story, folks.
How you doing? Dave, it is a difficult one, I mean, you're telling somebody to do something that goes completely against what they believe in.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like you're going down to your local GP and asking them to perform it for you. You're going to like a maternity unit with maternity doctors, this has all, this has passed legislation. Like, surely if one guy says no, there's someone else there who'll do it for you.
But that still goes against what you believe in, telling them and giving them the information. And this is what a lot of them said at the time, giving them information as to where they can get it done.
But that's fine. But see, here's the thing. If you conscientiously object and you're like, look, I don't want a part of this, at the very least, send them on to the person who'll help them out, right? And whatever about, because this isn't just like someone who finds themselves in an unwanted pregnancy.
You can't do that because you're going against your conscience.
Here, John, calm your tits there for a second, right? I'm not talking
about
you can't,
just you're missing the point. You can't. I mean, if the person is conscientious objecting, you cannot refer a person on. You can't refer a person on.
John,
you don't understand.
Well, hang on. Let him finish what he's saying.
That's using language. No, muttonhead. Yeah.
Let him finish what he wants to say. Go ahead, Dave.
Calm, John. Take a breath. 10 deep breaths. What I'm saying is, there are many women out there who find themselves in a position.
Let him speak, John, for God's sake.
John, shut the fuck up, right?
Watch your language.
There's lots of women out there who.
You can take a breath. The unborn can't take any breath because they're
John, I was in a position before where we were offered something like this. Okay. So I think I have a little bit more of an insight into this kind of thing than you do, okay? So just
close
your mouth. No. Close your mouth. Open your ears.
Don't be telling me to close my mouth, don't tell me to close my mouth unless you're standing in front of me.
Could you shut fucking up for 5 seconds
and then
me fucking speak?
Happen. Don't tell me to shut my mouth because the likes of you will never shut my mouth. And if you're standing in front of me, you wouldn't get away with that.
John, I know you. Well, hang on, both of you. Hang on, both of you a second. John, I know you're quite passionate about it, but hear Dave's argument out. I will give you a chance to respond to him. Dave, go ahead.
Right. There are many women out there who find themselves in a position where they want a child, okay? So let's just park the whole unwanted pregnancy thing for a second, right? So you imagine you're a woman who is 3 months pregnant. You find out that the baby that you were looking so forward to bringing home has a list of things wrong, like a litany of stuff, a list as long as your arms with things wrong, okay? You go to a maternity hospital not wanting to make that decision, not knowing your arse from your elbow, and some doctor says, oh, well, I'm very sorry, but because of my beliefs or my religion or or my moral standing or whatever he wants to say to you, I can't help you out. And you say, well, could you point me in the direction of someone who could help me? And then they say, no, sorry, you're on your own. Am I the only person that thinks that is just cruel, no?
And you know what, Dave? I'm listening to your argument. John, hold on for a second. I'm listening to your argument. I understand the point you're making. And during the referendum, we heard a lot about fatal fetal abnormalities. We heard a lot about women who had been raped and wanted to make that choice. But you have to accept, Dave, that's 2% of the amount of cases that go for termination of pregnancy. The majority of people who go for terminations are going for social reasons, i.e., they just don't want to have a baby at that particular time.
That's fair enough, okay. But at the same time, like saying that 2%, right? That 2% is just like, as we're talking about it now, it's it's in the abstract, it's a statistic. That 2% are still people out there whose lives have been upended in one of the most horrendously painful ways. All I'm saying is, if you conscientiously object, that's fair enough. I have no issue with that. You know what I mean? You should be allowed to live your life in whatever way, you want to live it, so long as you're not impacting anyone in a negative way or, being an arsehole to them. But at the very least, have the decency to point them in the direction of the people who will help them. Let
John and Angela both respond to that. John, okay, they're kind of happy medium. Maybe it's a compromise. If you're not willing to do it, and I understand that, and Dave understands that, well, at least turn around to the woman and say, listen, I can't do that for ethical, moral, or religious reasons, but I'll tell you what, GP Johnny there up the road or 4 miles away, he'll happily talk to you, and I'll forward you on to him.
Well, what needs to be done there needs to be, I wish to God anyone wouldn't have to, because I hate to see people in any kind of trauma with children, that have terrible complications and everything, and they won't live long. That's a horrendous thing to have to go through, right? But there should be a procedure there where, rather than ask the person that's a conscientious objector, because they're compromised straight away, then if the woman says, who do I see, she can't push him in a certain direction because she's morally against it. So there should be procedure there, whether forms are available or it's up on the wall or something, that you're directed to a part of the hospital where you know for definitely that you won't meet conscientious objection.
But that's all he's saying.
No, Niall.
Yeah, sorry, Angela.
Right.
So he actually agrees with me.
Yeah, he does. Angela, go ahead. Sorry.
Dave, one thing that I'm saying about this is, I think what you're talking about is different to what we're talking about in one way. If it is, if they are saying that medically, the child will not survive outside the womb, that I can't see any doctor objecting to doing it then. I think that what myself and John are saying is, if it's, a different reason, that it's a girl who finds out she's pregnant and doesn't want it, that's when a doctor can, in my opinion, object to doing the abortion.
No, and that's fair enough. And I don't necessarily disagree with you or John, but what I'm trying to say is, like, when we bring it in, like, say just for shits and giggles, you have a doctor who's a Jehovah's Witness, right? And the person needs a blood transfusion, but the doctor refuses to give the person the blood transfusion because of that doctor's religion, because Jehovah's Witnesses are against that kind of stuff. Like, should they be allowed to, like, object to that? Like where does it stop? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. If you want to conscientiously object until the fucking cows come home, for all I care. But at the very least, just say, look.
What should be there is a list of doctors. It should be, or like that, an abortion clinic specifically for this. That's what you go for. It's or a maternity.
And you know what? I don't disagree with you there. Like, if that's going to become such an issue, just do that. You know what I mean? Like, just pull the finger out and set up special places. I mean, they do it in maternity hospitals. Like, look, we don't live in a massive country, okay? Like, if something happens in Dublin, they don't want to do it, you can go down to Cork and do it. It's like 2 hours on the train. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like in the likes of America where you have to travel across state lines and then worry about getting prosecuted when you come home. So it's not the most massive issue in the world. I just personally think, just don't be a dick about it and just say, I'm not going to help you, but here's the people who will. Good luck and thanks.
Okay, hold on. Well, hang on both of you for a second here. Let me just go to Eric as well. Eric, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Eric?
No, how's things, mate? You all right?
Good. Eric, your argument is doctors should know what they're getting into.
Yeah, now, first of all, no, I don't want to start arguing and going to a sparring scrap with all the listeners.
Dave will meet you at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
By the way, I do remember John O'D going back many years ago. I think it was a similar debate. He asked somebody to meet him in Cork at the Lord Mayor's office or the City Hall at 12 o'clock, and he'd sort him out live on the air. I was organising boxing matches. Well, go on, Eric.
I can't stand work.
And by the way, it just seems we're all smiling a little bit now. Can Angela and Eric, can you congratulate Dave because he finally made a wife out of that girlfriend of his? Congratulations, Dave.
Dave,
She passed away last month.
What?
She passed away last month.
Dave.
Oh, Dave.
Dave, I'm so sorry.
Dave, oh my God. Dave, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I sorry. I thought the picture was made it. Yeah. She passed away in Limerick there. The 25th of last month.
Dave, I am so sorry because you've talked about her so wonderfully on the air over the last 3 or 4 years since we've known you. And I saw a message on WhatsApp that was sent to me, a screenshot by one of the staff of the two of you standing there. You finally got married because I was always slagging you saying, will you ever make an honest woman of that girl? And I knew you told me she had cancer. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, she the Thursday previous we went in and it turned out it had spread to her liver and we got married. Actually, fair play to I know UHL is always in the news for all the wrong reasons, but they pulled a finger out and managed to help us get married in 2 days. And she went to Milford Hospital. She passed away the 25th of March. Sorry. Yeah. So
well, it's upset me so much now, and I was so happy for you to even thinking of me there. I was just because I didn't. When you come on first, I didn't want to say it because, the mood was different and it was just an Eric lighting the mood. And the last thing that I'd seen was that screenshot of the two of you getting married. And the message on it was, will you pass this on to Niall and tell Niall I made an honest woman of her? And that was the last thing I've seen. And I haven't spoken to you since. And Dave, I'm devastated, Dave. I'm devastated for you. I really am.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer here now.
No, you're not. No, you're not being a Debbie Downer. And Jesus Christ, Dave, I'm so sorry. I know you're probably sick of people saying I'm sorry, but I am.
No, I'm not. I'm fucking. I tell you the support we got. They had a fundraiser for her in our local village there. I was it last Saturday or no, but the week after she passed away, and the entire village went pink for her. They put pink balloons all over the village. They hung pink flags from our local centre. The whole pub was to see a thing for people. Like, they held a fundraiser for us just to help with stuff. You know what I mean? So no, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'd be some dickhead now if I was to tell people.
Sorry, Angela.
She looked beautiful, Dave.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy.
And by the way, I know there's still fundraising. Jane is just telling me now, here there's still fundraising. Can people support? I mean, how can people support that, Dave?
No, it's no. I know tis all done now. We're actually finding out tomorrow. I know. Look, thank you so much for the offer. But no, I'd say I done pretty well. Her old employer. This is how much of an impact Michelle had on people. She worked in a place in Shannon there only for 2 years, and she hadn't worked there in about, I'd say, nearly 8 years now. When they found out what happened and they found out about the fundraiser, they donated 10 grand. So I know, the money it's not going to bring her back, but it's given me the ability to at least take a few months off work. You know what I mean? To look after the two boys and stuff.
I was going to say, how are the two young children? How are they? I know the little lad is very clever. How is he?
Actually, the baby's fine. He's keeping me on my toes, so he's keeping me kind of my mind occupied. And the other fella, he's good. He's better than good. He's absolutely amazing. As for 13-year-old young fella, he's got his shit together better than most adults I know. Like, if it wasn't for him a few times now in the last couple of weeks, particularly the first week or two, I'd have genuinely been lost without him. There was one morning the week after she passed, I was just physically wasn't able to get out of bed for a while, and He brought the baby downstairs, changed him, gave him his breakfast, got him dressed. Do you know what I mean? I'm so lucky to have a son like him. Do you know?
And you know what? When I saw the picture, the first thing that came into my mind, as a woman, of course, she looked beautiful. But as Dave, because I've talked to you throughout the years so many times, you don't scrub up too bad yourself, you know.
I scrub up well, don't I?
you do scrub up well. And I'm really, really, really sorry, because I was quite jovial there thinking about you getting married and finally making an honest woman of her, because I've been telling you for years, actually, you asked her to marry you on the air, if I remember rightly.
I was only thinking about that recently. Yeah. You see, I was quite happy to debase myself for everybody's entertainment, you know. Like, I'm sure Michelle was always down for the crack as well, you know. But it's just, it all happened like 8 weeks ago. She had a CT scan. She was as clean as a whistle. It just turns out that what she had was just so aggressive. Like, I mean, we only got married purely by chance. I mentioned it to one of the nurses in the UHL, and, you know, she was like, do you want to get married? Like, do you need a priest? And I was like, look, I'm not trying to be funny, but, you know, if you can help us get married, name the God and I'll pray to it, you know. And
I know, again, cut through all the red tape that's involved in getting the license and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
There was a woman in the courthouse Saturday night blowing Limerick, getting a judge to sign off and stuff. The county registrar was above at the above at the rugby, and he was like quite happy to take phone calls, and two ladies opened up the birth, deaths and marriages office for me on the Sunday to give me the marriage certificate. Like, there's so many people went out of their way to help us, and we went for a meal afterwards then, and a lovely lady named Michelle, funny enough, from the Midwestern Cancer Society, put 300 quid in behind the bar to help pay for the meal.
It was really nice.
You know, like,
you know, some people are just really good, really nice. Yeah.
And even Milford Care Centre, I'm not joking, lads. We never dealt with a hospice before with all our dealings with cancer in the past, but they could not have facilitated us any better. They were absolutely amazing. Like, they're sorting counselling for myself and the young lad as well. Do you know what I mean? They're absolutely brilliant.
And how are you now? How are you now, Davey? Okay. Well, I know you're not okay. I know you're not okay. But are you getting through it?
I'm getting there day by day. This week is like, I'm after getting her. I always felt that she never fully got the recognition she deserved in her life, because like Michelle gave up the last 7 years of her life looking after other people. She put her life on hold to look after my mum for the last 6 months of her life. She was her dad's primary carer. Like, she was always kind of putting other people first. That's kind of why us get married went on the back burner. So I kind of made it my mission to, you know, see if I could get her name out to as many people as possible. I'm after getting her story into about 9 different newspapers, you know. So that kind of that kept me busy, and, you know, I have the boys, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a mess. Like, you know.
Well, let's all think of Michelle tonight. We will dedicate the whole night to Michelle. And Dave fighting fit again. I mean, and if you want, you know, what I'll do is, if you want it, the last time you were, it could have been the last time you were on. I can't remember when the last time you were on was. It was the time that I got you. I said, is she in the house there now? And you said, yeah. I said, go in and ask her to marry you. And you went, oh, for God's sake. I said, just go in and do it now. And you went in and you said, will you marry me? And she went, yes. Do you remember that day? Yeah. So if
she was actually waving a hand out and mouth and fuck off. But
I tell you what, can you remember when that was? And what I'll do is I'll get Jane to get the audio and I'll send it to you.
Oh man, I'd really love that. I'm not 100% sure. Do you know that? Because my head's up my arse at the moment. What are we in now? March?
Yeah.
Sure, it was around. I'd say it was around February or that, was it? They're in about, so. I'd say.
We'll find it. Don't worry, we'll find it. Okay. And,
that's perfect. Sound out.
Do
you know what it was? I think it was after she had her surgery, so it would have been around the end. It would have been in around the end of February, I think.
Okay, we'll find it. Okay, and I'll get Jane to package it up and send it off to you. All right.
Sound out.
I tell you what, Eric, do me a favour. Thank you very much, but stay there, Eric. I'm going to have to take a break, all right, because it wouldn't be right of me just to go from that into this, and I'm not blaming you for that, Dave, by the way, or Michelle. I'm looking up at the sky. I'm not blaming you for that either, Michelle. Dave, I'm absolutely you're at the breaking my heart tonight. I'm absolutely devastated for you.
Sorry, I didn't mean fucking kind of drop that on you out of nowhere, but don't even apologise. Please don't apologise. All right, Dave. I got to take a break. Okay, keep texting. By the way, there's so many messages, by the way, coming in, Dave. I wouldn't have time to read them all out in a 4-hour show.
There's so many messages coming in. Everybody's saying R.I.P. Michelle. That is such a sad story, and they all love Michelle. All right. So, Dave, thanks very much.
Really appreciate that.
All right. Okay, we got to go to a quick break. The number's 087 188 0008. I think it would be right to take a break at this moment in time and give us all a chance just to reflect a little bit, because life is short. The number's 087 188 0008. Getting back to the topic after the break, by the way, conscientious objection. Do you believe that doctors should be allowed to
Smartphone App Store.
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
Oh, I was so taken by surprise when Dave said that. I'm genuinely so upset. But so many messages, by the way, coming in for Dave. Good wishes from people wishing him well and giving their respects on the loss of Michelle. And we will get that audio and we'll get it out to Dave. And I'm sure we'll talk to Dave again lots more in the future. He's a regular caller to the show. Now, let me get back to the topic. Eric, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Eric?
Now, first and foremost, before you start, condolences to Dave and his family. It's funny how you just mentioned before the break of how clever his son was. It's good to know that a kid at a young age has a shit together better than most of the callers that are on air tonight.
Yeah, yes, of course. I was completely taken by surprise, Eric, because Dave has been on the air with us for years. And I'm always slagging him. Every time he comes on, I say to him, have you not married that woman yet? You know, and so much so that a couple of months ago I said, do it now. Where is she? And he said, she's in the kitchen. And I said, go into the kitchen and ask her to marry you, for God's sake. And he did. He went in and got down his knee and asked her to marry him. And she said, yes. And we'll find the audio of it anyway. We'll send it over to him. Listen, Eric, getting back to the topic anyway, do you believe that doctors should be allowed to object?
No, as I said in my text, you know, as a medical professional, like, you should be obviously told prior to taking that job, listen, there may be some, you know, there may be some, you know, surgery and stuff like that. You might need to, some medical performances that you may need to carry out. And if you're not comfortable with that, then just don't take the job. Get individuals that are willing to do the job. I know, you know, the religion, obviously, at the start, you know, when all this kind of divorce thing was coming in, that was a massive thing. But I just always kind of feel there's always going to be something that's never going to fully allow it to go out there. There's always going to be something stopping it, regardless of individuals.
And I would agree with you. If I'm training to be a doctor tomorrow, I know termination of pregnancy is part of women's healthcare. But if I train to be a doctor and I'm, 50 years of age and I've been a doctor for 20 years, it wasn't part of Irish healthcare, and there would have been, no chances of abortion being available in Ireland at that time. So I could turn around and say, well, hold on, it was never part of that, so why you want me to do it now? Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but it's just the way, the country's gone. Unfortunately, I understand, to reiterate my point, people have their opinions and their beliefs and stuff like that, but unfortunately, this is what's carried out. I understand it's a very serious thing, but we all have. I know this is a horrible example. There's always certain parts of the job that we hate doing, and just because something comes up that we don't have to do, people just don't want to go about doing it. That's just my opinion. And I know it's not really.
I know, but it can be difficult for people when they're very passionate about. I mean, the stuff that I'm passionate about, when I'm doing this show, and certainly I'm not going to give any examples, but if if Jane, my producer, turned around to me and said, I want you to interview such and such a person tomorrow, and I despise them, and I didn't want them near a radio station or be given a platform, I would just say no, find someone else to do it. I wouldn't do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're passionate about something, and I can understand that, on the other hand, I have to be fair and say, that women and men voted, 67% of the voting population voted in favour of it, is in legislation now in law in this country, and women have a right to a termination. But the problem is the availability is quite low because so many people conscientiously object.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can put all and you can summarise it all like that. But at the end of the day, the individuals, that's what they get paid to do. If you're not willing to go about doing that job, find individuals that are willing to do their job without having to throw in the religion card and the beliefs and stuff like that. That's literally my opinion. I know it's very straightforward and bitter like that, my friend, but that's literally it is. Get individuals in. It's obviously a sector that needs looking at. We don't need to go into numbers and stuff like that. It's a serious matter. Just get individuals that have the balls to just do it and stop bringing their religion and their beliefs into it, because I think you need to just park religion aside and just give them their...
Okay, fair enough. We'll stay there for a second. Let me go to Sarah as well. Sarah, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Sarah?
How are you doing? Not too bad. I somewhat agree with that young man. Personally, I conscientiously object to people who, with their opinions, try and shove it down other people's throats. If there's a doctor who doesn't want to perform an abortion, quite frankly, he shouldn't. He wouldn't give the proper duty of care to a woman who is in a crisis situation. She needs to be looked after by people who understand where she's at and respects her choice, and they want to look after her. So I wouldn't force any doctor or nurse to actually perform abortions. However, the health service, they should have facilities available to women who want to go for an abortion. Hire staff who are willing to perform those operations. If they need to set up clinics, and I know it's not in legislation, well then set up the clinics. And then your caller earlier on, John, I think his name was.
John O'D, yeah.
I'm sure he's a lovely man, and he's perfectly entitled to his opinion. But when I hear him saying, "Oh, if they open those clinics, Plan B," whatever that is, whatever he is talking about.
Plan B is, I suppose, what they do to abortion clinics all over the world, which is protesters outside them on a daily basis, I suppose. I hope he's not talking about burning them down and stuff like that, which I see in some states, or in Florida, they went to the extreme and they shot the doctor, you know?
Exactly. You know, these people, have you nothing better to do? Why don't you mind your own business first off, okay? And
that's a bit unfair, isn't it? To mind your own business. We're part of a society, and everything that goes on in society is our business, even though it may not affect us directly.
Not at all. No, I totally disagree with that. When it comes to a woman's body and her deciding to go for an abortion, whether it's for medical reasons, and as you said earlier on, it's only 1 or 2% that are in that bracket. The rest is by choice. And those people, they don't make that decision very lightly. You know, it's something that they take time. They go through an awful lot of trauma trying to make that decision. It's something that they live with for life. It's their decision. It affects them. It doesn't affect the Johns of this world. And if John and all of those people feel so strongly about women in a crisis situation, single mothers, well, I'd like to know what they're doing to support all the single mothers in this country. We have a lot of problems in our foster care system. We have a lot of problems of children out there who don't have support from adults. Why don't they go and put their energy into helping those children and showing women who are in crisis situations that they're there in a positive sense to support them, instead of wandering around with placards and shouting off their opinions?
By the way, do you believe everybody has a right to protest, I suppose? But I know the Minister, Simon Harris particularly, was talking about it going back when he was Minister for Health, of bringing in exclusion zones around hospitals or GP services that provide terminations. Do you believe there should be an exclusion zone where they're not allowed to protest? Now, thankfully, the protests have never been violent. They've been quite peaceful. They just stand there usually with, pictures or whatever it is, or crosses or whatever it is they protest with. But do you believe they should be allowed to protest outside clinics?
I don't think it's right that they would be allowed to protest directly outside a clinic. We have no idea what a woman going in there is going through. It could be somebody who's in a medical situation, who's no choice. They've no idea, okay? I think absolutely go down Grafton Street, whatever street you want, protest away, have your opinion. I don't mind him having his opinion. I respect his opinion. But it's his opinion. He can talk about it as much as he likes. But standing in front of somebody and blocking them from a choice. Somebody said earlier on there about it, in our religion, we free will. Absolutely. John has free will to not go for an abortion.
He's also free will. He's also free will to object to it as well. We live in a democracy.
Yeah, he can object, but there's a fine line. You have to respect other people's opinions, and you've got to respect other people's lives. And women don't make these decisions lightly. It's not a laugh, an abortion. It's not something that people go around if they've had one and publicise it and act like they're proud of it. It's a very sensitive subject. And I think a lot of these people who are on the no side have very little respect for women's opinions.
Stay there for a second. And by the way, there are women who are on the no side too, Sarah.
That is very true, yeah.
Stay there. Let me go to Elaine. Elaine, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Elaine?
Hi, Niall. How are things?
Good. Elaine, do you believe conscientious objection should be abandoned completely? Should it be abolished?
I'm pro-life, Niall. So I just feel that if religion comes into this, okay, we'll say if someone has a religious belief that abortion isn't in their mindset, and there is a medical emergency and it depends on a life or death situation.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that someone needs to intervene, and if that's the only doctor that's on call that night,
I would agree with you. I think
someone
Elaine,
needs to make
everybody,
that call.
and that before we even had a referendum in this country, that would have been the way it was. Anyway, if a woman's life is in danger and it's a matter of choosing between that and the baby's life or a woman's life, which is a very rare situation, can I point out? But absolutely, any doctor who would refuse to save a woman's life, rather than trying to save the child's life or the unborn child's life, deserves to be struck off.
Absolutely.
But that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about women who are going for a termination within the 12-week period, for whatever reason.
The line is just a little bit broken. When you're speaking, it's just a little bit muffled. Sorry.
So do you believe that doctors should be allowed, if I walk in as a woman into a GP surgery and I am, 11 weeks pregnant or 10 weeks pregnant and I want a termination of pregnancy just because I'm too young, I'm 22, I'm a school teacher and I don't want a baby yet, do you think that doctor should be allowed to refuse it because he's a Catholic?
Yeah, I do. Because there's many more doctors in this country who have been trained up in the same medical field, and they chose to take a path of where they would perform that kind of surgery on a woman. And I feel that if you have a firm belief that you don't want to perform a medical procedure like this or take the life of another human being, that's your right. Of course, that's absolutely your right. Because
Elaine, can I ask you a question, Elaine, just before I go to Ethan here? Can I ask you, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, in the referendum, did you vote yes or no?
To repeal the age?
Yes.
I voted no.
You voted no. Okay.
I voted no.
And the reason you voted no? Did you have a particular reason, or you just didn't feel it was right?
Because I just feel, Niall, that once we voted yes in that referendum, we opened up a whole entire pathway to now abortion is now legal in Ireland as part of a contraceptive. So rather than someone making a conscious decision before they jump into bed with someone and end up pregnant, they're now making decisions at whatever amount of weeks. We are now actually in the process of drafting up a legislation in this country, right, to terminate a pregnancy at 38 weeks.
Well, I don't think it'll ever be 38, but certainly I know they're looking to extend it to 23 or 22.
That's bonkers. There won't be that.
Yeah, Sarah, they are looking to extend it to 22 weeks. I know that. But stay there. Let me go to Ethan as well. Ethan, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Ethan?
Hi, Niall.
You've heard what Sarah said. Basically we're abandoning women's health care if we're refusing to do it on ethical grounds.
Yeah. I think the statement I made was more that it was like, ordering a hitman to kill your child. That's my opinion of it. It's probably a bit of a.
So getting a doctor to terminate a pregnancy is like ordering a hitman to kill your child.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, then you're clearly pro-life.
I am pro-life. Yeah, look,
but you've lost, unfortunately, and I say this, with respect to you, you've lost the debate in a sense that we live in a democracy, and 67% of the voting population thought you were wrong.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, like a lot of people vote different laws. Ethically, it doesn't mean it's right.
No, I didn't say it does. But if it's a law and we voted for it democratically, surely the service then should be available for women.
Of course. Yeah, look, absolutely. I think in a democratic society, so be it. But as in my opinion, that's how I feel.
Oh no, I accept your opinion. But
should
a doctor be allowed to refuse?
I do accept the law of the land, and I do agree with that. And I suppose your opinion, I suppose the talk tonight is, I suppose on the objections of
doctors,
of the doctors and what they feel. Yeah. So look, I suppose I'm not a registered doctor myself, but if I was, I feel I would be entitled to make that objection. I think any doctor in that position should be entitled to make that objection. the end of the day, we're not dealing with a lot of these people that are coming on here tonight talking like we're dealing with some kind of minor surgery or kind of,
No, it's a big decision. I think Sarah accepts that. It's a big decision in somebody's life to decide to have an abortion. It's not something you decide overnight to do.
Absolutely. I agree.
Sarah, well, hang on. Let me just finish this off because I have to go to the break now. But Sarah, I'm getting a mixed response tonight, and I have to say it's probably about 70% of people are saying that doctors should be allowed to conscientious object. If that's the case, we're not going to get anywhere in improving the service or making the service more widely available. And I don't think clinics are going to happen in this country.
Why don't you think they'll happen?
Because firstly, it's not the legislation. And secondly, I think that you're going to have... We live in a country, I suppose, that is predominantly Catholic. I think that a lot of people at the time of the referendum voted for it based on, I suppose, a lot of the things that were said on TV and radio, which was those kind of extreme cases of fatal fetal abnormalities or rape or a woman's life is in danger, which is a very small percentage of the reason why people have terminations. And I think a lot of people don't want to see it going past 12 weeks. They didn't really believe that we would have had very liberal abortion laws. And I think there will be a lot of protests by people against it if we opened clinics.
Yeah, but there's a balance that can be had between all of that. I mean, there I heard that other young lady mentioned 38 weeks. Like, obviously, that's not going to happen.
I hope not. No, that would be
no, it's not
extreme.
going to happen. Like that.
You wouldn't even agree with that, would you?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I doubt I'd even agree with 22 weeks, except obviously in extreme circumstances. But a balance has to be found here. Mm-hmm. Balance has to be found because, it is a very serious situation. What do they all think if they ban it completely again, that it just won't happen?
Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio, the multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic